lot of really fascinating parts of Jesus and the Jewish roots of Mary. But I think that your discussion of the dogma of her perpetual virginity was one of the most eye-opening for me, because you brought to light some things I had never heard before or seen before in any book on Mary. And of course, perpetual virginity is one of the 4 dogmas, along with the Assumption and the Immaculate Conception and Mary's role as a mother of God. And Catholics are bound to believe these things, and they cause potential converts all kinds of fits. And it caused a fit for me, right? But it says basically issues that are, Matthew 1:25, Joseph knew her not until she had born. What do we do with the word until? And maybe you can touch on that for just a second so we can kind of get rid of some of the more common objections. And then let's pivot to the book of Numbers, where you make this really cool stuff.
Okay, so so if you've ever researched or investigated the debate over Mary's perpetual virginity before, you'll know that the 2 main objections are the existence of brothers of Jesus in the New Testament, right? Like the brothers of Jesus. And then the second one is Matthew 1:25, where Matthew says, after Joseph took Mary into his home, he knew her not until she bore a son. And people will say, aha, look, it says until she bore a son. Therefore, it necessarily means that they did have relations after she bore a son. Therefore, she was, not perpetually virgin. Right. And so the quick response to both of those is, as scholars have recognized for many, many centuries, since Jerome wrote against Helvidius in the 4th century, the word brother, yes, primarily it means brother. That's its primary meaning, like a blood brother, the child of the same mother or father. However, it has a broader connotation, and in context, you have to look at what it means, because it can also just mean a relative or a cousin of some sort. It can even be used to refer to an uncle. And so what I show in the book is, if you look at Mark's gospel, Mark chapter 6 and Mark chapter 15, Mark himself lets you know that the primary meaning of brother doesn't work, because 2 of the guys called brothers of Jesus, James and Joseph, are identified in Mark 15 as the children of another woman, not the mother of Jesus, but another woman called Mary, who in the Gospel John 19 is identified as the wife of Clopas. And these 2, James and Joseph, James and Simon and Judas too. James and Simon went on to become bishops of Jerusalem, and they were widely known in Eusebius and Hegesippus as Jesus' cousins. And also notice they weren't the children of St. Joseph, because they're known as the sons of Clopas, right? That's important. There's another tradition that they were, maybe they were Joseph's children from a previous marriage. But the problem is, Mark tells us that their mother is alive at the time of the resurrection. So if they can't be Joseph's children, because Joseph then wouldn't be a widower. He would be a polygamist. That's a whole different issue.
Can I say something real quick here? One of the things that came to mind, and you can disabuse me if I'm totally wrong on this, but it came to mind that if they are related to Jesus in that way, then they have they have some royal blood flowing through them. They would be part of the tribe of Judah and of the house of David in the same way that Joseph was, because he's part of the royal family. Right, because they're connected to royalty, the Davidic line, right? And isn't it interesting that they are the first 2 bishops of Jerusalem?
Yes.
Which was the seat of the kingdom.
That's exactly right. Yeah, they're honored. And you can read, if you read the early church fathers, the family of Jesus, the extended family of Jesus. Richard Bauckham has actually written on this, although we disagree on some of the particulars. Were honored within the Jerusalem church. Because of their familial connections with Jesus himself. Very cool. This isn't, these weren't, and these church fathers saying that these were the cousins of Jesus, they're not defending Mary's perpetual virginity. Eusebius doesn't say anything about that. Hegesippus doesn't say anything about that. They're just telling you who the bishops of Jerusalem were. They were James, his cousin, and Simon, his cousin, and the sons of Clopas, his uncle. So that's part of it. So that I deal with that in the chapter in depth. And that's kind of something people have argued before, although I go into a little more depth. The other verse, Matthew 1:25, is the one, again, since ancient times, and Protestant scholars will agree on this too, like Davies and Allison, their commentary on Matthew. The word until simply does not imply one way or the other whether that Joseph and Mary had relations. It is simply meant to tell you the time that they didn't have relations, between conception and birth, until birth. And you can see this in Matthew's gospel, because later on in the gospel, Jesus says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Same word, heos in Greek. Now, that doesn't mean that after Jesus conquers all his enemies, the Father kicks him off the throne. Like, you can sit at my right hand until your enemies are defeated, but after that, you're out of here, right?
The one I like that I think is super easy for people to understand too is David's first wife, Michal, or Michal, right?
Exactly,
she had no children until the day that she died, right?
Of
day of her death.
That's right. 2 Samuel 6, same Greek word. Michal, David's wife, had no children until the day of her death. That does not mean she started having babies after her funeral. No, it just doesn't mean that. So, although Matthew, you know what's